Welcome to Manga Machinations! This is episode number 460, and this week we're finishing our Fire Punch retrospective. I'm Dakazu, and with me is Star Fox 8
Yo.
and Seamus2389.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Welcome as we wrap up Tatsuki Fujimoto's Fire Punch this week. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of discussion, maybe comparing it to his more well-known work, Chainsaw Man. But that will all be in the news section. The main section. Sorry, I have a couple things on my checklist. I'm trying to go through them. We are essentially a book club for manga, so welcome to our podcast. And we record this podcast live on YouTube right now. We are actually recording on a Sunday, not our usual Saturday. And we have some people in the chat. Hey, Cliff is in the chat.
Yep, Cliff Jolly on the spot on the chat. Basically, as soon as our feed went live, Cliff was there, so we appreciate that.
Thank you, Cliff. Thanks for being here. If you're watching live on YouTube, or if you catch this recording on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/MangaMacTV, you will get to see Darfox's very handsome face and his glorious hair as he is on the cam for the people.
Yes, I am here for all of you.
Our friend Lightning Bolt is also here. ALB.
It be the Darbox. It be I. I got stuff here because we haven't done this in a couple of weeks. Here, I'll do a little bit of show and tell.
Oh, very nice.
I got my Dojirushi water bottle. I got my Yeti soda can cooler. It's actually like a beer can cooler, but who drinks beer?
Oh, it keeps your drink cool?
Yes.
I should get one of those.
Yeah, they're not cheap, but like you use it all the time if you drink from a soda can, so it's nice to have, especially if you go out. You take it with you and it keeps stuff warm. That way you don't have to chug your soda before it goes cold. I got my cell phone. This is a really interesting show and tell. And
okay.
Most important of all, I got some crackers. Galletas de soda, you know what I mean?
Wait a second, dude.
What do you mean?
I already hear the crinkling in the background. I don't know how well that plays on our audio podcast where we need to record things and you're just all you hear is crinkling coming from Darfox as he like scarfs down some crackers.
Well, I didn't scarf me down. I just shut it off for the camera. You know, I'm not gonna eat some unless it's.
You're welcome to eat some. Just mute your mic. We don't need those mouth chewing sounds. This isn't a mukbang podcast or anything.
I have eaten on the podcast before. Not often, but sometimes.
Sometimes you gotta eat.
You gotta eat.
Eat.
My last show and tell item. It is a cheap copy of Tenchu 1 I bought from a used game store that opened up near me recently.
Nice.
I went there twice looking for specifically Tenchu 1 because I have Tenchu 2, but I don't have Tenchu 1. And they had it. It only has a manual, but the CD is in pretty good condition. The disc is okay, so I'll probably play that one day. Because I played a lot of Tenchu 2, but I only played with Tenchu 1 once, like way long ago. I'm a big Tenchu fan. I like the Tenchu games. They're a lot of fun for me.
I have a problem with those games.
What's up?
I think they're way too punishing.
Oh yeah, no, they are. Yeah, they definitely are.
And it is just infuriating. Like, I'll try. You have to do a perfect run on a level, and if you do one screw up, you might as well just like fucking reset and start over.
Yeah, you know, like if you're playing casually, you can't just fumble your way through it. But if you want to get the good scores and it gives you more items, it gives you more cool stuff. Yeah, it's really punishing if you get to the very end and you've still killed everybody, you haven't got caught, and then one guy catches you. And especially because it's a PS1 game, so it has a certain level of jank. Especially if the camera messes up on you or something, or like it glitches behind a wall or something, and you can't quite see the guy. Stuff like that does happen. So yeah, I totally get it. You're not unreasonable for that take.
Listen, I think I forget if it's the PlayStation 3 game or I think it's the PS2 game.
Wrath of Heaven?
Yeah. It had like the boss of like the second or third level. It was like a cave level. I could not be that fucking boss. It was the worst.
Yeah,
I was so mad.
I think I know the one you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah, they could be punishing games. I think nowadays they would be checkpointed because they have stages, right? The stages aren't checkpointed at all. You gotta start from the
Mhm.
very beginning if you die. So like it's just kind of very old game design where like, hey, this is the stage. Once you're loaded in, that's your one shot at doing the stage correctly.
Listen, stealth action is a fun genre, but Tenchu was at the forefront. They hadn't figured out all the kinks yet, and they definitely like fell behind as other people did it better.
Yeah,
Metal Gear,
yeah.
Assassin's Creed, all those ones.
Tenshu, I think, is beloved not so much for the mechanics. Some of the mechanics, like the stealth kills, were kind of iconic, but they're beloved for more for like the vibe, the music and like the art design and the stuff. It was very like kind of cool Japan for something that was released, during the 2000, like the early or mid to late 90s and stuff like that. It had like a really cool like aesthetic that felt kind of authentic. And the music was really good. So like, I think that's the stuff that like that's the reason why Tenchu was like beloved for the most part.
Hell yeah, we're a manga podcast, and I'm totally going on a side tangent over Tenchu because I pop for that Tenchu you showed.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool game.
Pretty good. Tyler from Germany's in the chat. Hi, Tyler. Oh,
Yo, Tyler.
I want to respond to this comment from Cliff. Cliff says, Toriko is a top manga. Cliff, I'm gonna agree. Toriko is a good manga. I like that manga. There's some fortunate things about the creator. I mean, it's not as bad as Nobuhiro Watsuki, I'll tell you that much. But
Creator may be a creep, right?
he was arrested for soliciting sex from a minor.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was one of those things where like it was not clear that she was a minor or something, and he already like before he started Toriko, he already like did whatever punishment he got. If I knew about that, maybe I would have been so into Toriko, but Toriko's like really fucking good. But after learning that, after I had bought all the volumes of Toriko, I was kind of like, maybe if I knew that, I wouldn't have like actually paid money. But so as some people say, you gotta separate the product from like the creator. Also, the end of Toriko is kind of ass. That series like went way off the deep end at a certain point. Yeah, Cliff didn't know it either. It happens. It happens.
These freaking mangaka, god damn it, always with some fucking thing.
Yep. I mean, if it's a choice too. If that bothers you about a creator, then you can choose not to like give them money. You won't hear me talking about the new Rurouni Kenshin remake anime that's happening right now. I don't need to.
Yep.
Oh, before we get going even further on this podcast, let's talk about our coffee. Arfax always wants me to mention this at the top of our show. We have a coffee. If you don't know what that is, you can basically buy us a coffee, which is a tip. You can tip and support our podcast. Head over to ko-fi.com/mangamac. Want to thank the people who have bought us coffee maybe multiple times as well. Deluid, Mia, Wyatt, Phillip, Vicky Dalton, Dr. Melface, Poor Mexican 72. That's Lightning Ball here in the chat. Thank you very much. Also, your friend, Darfox, you gotta update this.
Yeah, sorry, I totally forgot to update it. Liquid 002. Thank you so much. Very generous people.
Very generous. Also exciting to announce, Darfox, is that we have a Blue Sky account now. It happened.
Oh yeah, I managed to scrounge up an invite because the Blue Sky is that social media that's backed by the former Twitter CEO, one of the creators of Twitter. After they left Twitter, they got involved with another social media. It's very similar to Twitter. But it's kind of exclusive. It's not like available to everybody. You have to get an invite to it, and I finally got an invite to it. So we have a Manga Mac account. If you haven't been,
Darfox selfless and not making it his own Darfox 8 account.
Yeah, I could have. I really could have. Give me a moment, actually. See if I can. I wasn't prepared to do this, so this is on the fly to see if this works.
Yep, I should have mentioned this to Dar. I apologize.
And
Also, but Darfox has to do it because I don't know what our Blue Sky account is. Like,
there it is. It's on screen right now. Manga Mac Podcast .bsky.social. It has I'm not sure why the tags are so long. But if you look for Manga Machinations on Blue Sky, you will find us. Like the Twitter account we'll be posting when we have new podcasts up and we're scheduling new stuff and occasional memes, stuff like that.
you're not gonna show him the first post you put up
Okay.
on that account.
Okay, all right.
I didn't put that up.
All right, this is relevant if LB's still in the chat. All right, let's go down. All right, here we go. Our first post on Blue Sky. I think I spelled Blue Sky incorrectly. I think it doesn't have an E on there, so I already messed up. Will be used for ranking Yu Yu Hakusho endings. Number 1, ending number 5, just the best ending. Okay. Number 2, ending number 3, most likely to be sung. I misspelled that as well. Before kissing. Yeah, I put this Blue Sky post up like really late in the night, so that's my excuse. It says right here, 2 a.m. Ending number 3 will be the first ending. It's the one that says homework never ends, and it goes son of a gun, and then like Yusuke's punching the Australian gentleman. Ending number 4 is the fourth ending. This is the one that has all the letters, and it has like some photography and some live action shots. Underrated in my opinion. And then the worst ending is ending 2. I said it's not terrible, but it's the worst. That is Sayonara.
How can you do that? The lightning bolt.
Is that Lightning Bolt's favorite ending? I thought he just liked it. I don't know if it's favorite ending. No, Lightning Bolt's favorite ending is 2. Is Unbalanced Kissed. Yeah, it's ending 3.
All right, good. It came up when earlier this week we were doing an impromptu Mahjong Machinations, and then afterwards we were showing Christine, one of our members that like plays Mahjong with us, like what anime music quiz was. So LB and I were playing against each other, and it came up, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know this." And Christine was like, "I know this. How could you not know this?" It's like, I don't like that ending. Yeah, that's something that we might be doing in the future.
Anime music
Where,
quiz.
yeah, more meetups. We'll see. Right now, Mahjong Machinations has been popping off. It's been very good. Seamus has been playing. We had a really intense game on Monday. That was super fun. We played again on Thursday. I was gonna win, and then Darfox fucked it up by getting a con and getting Christine extra bonus tiles. Thanks, Dar.
Listen, I wasn't even in voice chat at that point. I was just
No, you were just posting gifs of your reaction, which was hilarious because you were getting so screwed over and so mad.
Oh man,
It was a good time.
That night I had a really good hand. I think it was like the doubles, like a doubles hand, and I was like, oh damn,
All doubles.
I got the hand, and then I ended up being dwarfed by both Christine and Dogzu. Ended up having like these crazy flushes and just trying to show me up.
I had an 11 fan.
11
It
flans?
was 11 han. I forget what the actual term is, but yeah, it was times 11 multiplier. It was huge. It was a Cyberman.
Cyberman. Yeah.
It's so funny. It's supposed to be Mungun, but whenever one of us gets a Mungun, like Darfox is like, "You got a manga."
Manga.
We have our own like cute terms for like tiles and shit.
There's also the Hamenman.
Yes.
Hamenman. Very exciting when
man.
you get like those tags. I don't know what they mean, but they're exciting.
Yeah, Mahjong Machinations on Mondays around 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please come join. Hopefully we get Morgana in on this, and we're going to be having 2 games at the same time. Like, it's going to be great. But yeah, that should be it for our community stuff. Let's move along. I have an email here from Tyler. So let's do this email. This email is titled "The Thing We Do." Is there something you guys keep coming back to as habit or you enjoy it? Okay, I'm pretty sure you meant habit. Like for me, every time I buy a video game or box set, speed like week on it, then just go back to Overwatch and play it for many hours, and never play that game I just got. I don't know why I keep playing Overwatch. It's not that good of a game anymore. I haven't finished Star Valley, Hades, new Pokemon games, etc. Just waste money over here. P.S. Bring back monthly Manga Mac Bump, the Seamus version. All right. Thank you for your email, Seamus. What do you think? A monthly Manga Mac Bump from you? What do you say to this?
I'm gonna say no.
And there you have it. It will not.
Denied.
It will not happen. Sorry, Tyler.
It might make a return, but it will not be an expected thing.
There you go.
When you least
Never,
expect it.
never expect from Seamus.
Never let them know your next move is what Seamus always says.
Yes. Well, thank you for your email, Tyler. And habits, huh, or something you keep coming back to. I mean, the easy answer here is manga. I revisit and reread manga series a lot. Like Blue Giant, which I love. I'll just fucking start at the beginning. I'll just reread the entire thing. Blue Giant Supreme, Blue Giant Explorer. What are other manga series that I reread a lot? Shoujo Fight. Whenever that comes up, I end up rereading the entire thing and loving it. Yomush Pedal. You know, that's another thing. I haven't really done stuff like Hajime no Ippo, Dark Fox. I haven't felt the need to revisit that, but yeah, there's a bunch of manga series where I'll just be like, let me start at the beginning and let me re-enjoy this. It's gonna be great. You have anything, Dark Fox? Manga or anything other hobbies you go back to?
Lately I've been like doing a lot of new stuff. I used to go back to like Police Story and a couple of Jackie Chan movies, but I've been just watching a bunch of new quote unquote Hong Kong movies that I haven't seen before.
Right. You guys have been getting together and watching Hong Kong movies, but you also watch old anime. You've been watching My Love Story with Lightning Bolt.
Yes, there will be a little bit of that in the what you've been reading / watching because we finished that, and I want to give some wrap up thoughts on that. But yeah, right now I'm pretty light on like the habitual stuff. I guess you could consider Minecraft a habitual thing because we always, well, I won't say
Right.
always, but like every couple of years, I feel like we go back to Minecraft and play it for about a month, and it's a
Right,
lot
you're
of
on
fun.
a Minecraft kick right now.
Yeah, it's winding down. Like I haven't logged on in like in a day or so. So like, it's winding down probably.
We just mentioned like Tenchu. Are there other video game stuff that you always go back and play?
Mega Man Legends is a big one. I haven't played it in a couple of years, but it's a series I really like. Just stuff I grew up with and really like Metal Gear. Like the nostalgia stuff and the stuff that I think is really good.
Right. How about you, Seamus? I assume like maybe books you reread or anything?
Nah, it's not too many books I reread.
You revisit your favorite TV show like The Wire or like The Shield?
That and The Shield I've both seen like 4 times. It's like every couple of years. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll rewatch them again. Although, I don't know, it's been a few years and I'm like, I don't know, I'll push to rewatch them again now. Yeah, there was a run there, right, where that's like every, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. I'm back to playing AI War again, which is this game from, I don't know how many years ago it came out, but
AI War?
yes, it's like, I don't know when this came out. I think AI War 2 is out now, because I backed it on Kickstarter a few years ago, but it's like a 4X space game, but the point is not to like grab all the planets like you do in most of them, because you're basically I don't know what, I can't remember what the backstory is. Humanity invented AI, it all went bad. They like control the planet. They all control all the planets, and you're like this last remnant who are trying to fight back. So it's more kind of like I don't know. What would be similar to? I guess like the Viet Cong defeated the French. It's probably a good analogy.
Jesus.
Well, that's not really a great one either. I'm just trying to think.
No, I mean, I just Googled this game, and like the first image that popped up, I just sent over to Darfox so I can put it up in the stream. This game, this UI for this game, I'm already getting a headache just looking at this. What the fuck?
As someone who's played, according to Steam, 142 hours of it, I just ignore.
Oh my god!
I think I've only ever like 1-2 games of it too, because it's very hard game because it plays very differently from other 4X games. There's a whole stuff on the wiki that like explains how you're meant to play and all that stuff. Then they got a bunch of expansions, but I don't know. I just like every couple of years, I'm like, oh yeah, we'll boot that up. We'll try an expansion I haven't done before, and we'll see can I actually win a game. Because it is like, I don't know. Let me think. Like, let's say I'm playing on an 80 planet game. Like if you're trying every planet you take, you increase the AI's aggression. The more aggressive they are, the more they attack you with bigger and stronger ships. So you need to just take like only as many planets as needed to defeat their 2 homeworlds and nothing else. And once you attack one of their homeworlds, they immediately start hammering you with like massive fleets, like going straight at your homeworld. So you can't like turtle up. You have to be like, all right, I've got like in the next hour of this game, I need to like destroy this homeworld, or else like they're going to be too strong for me and I'm dead. It like they break a lot of the conventions of 4X games in ways that I like, because I actually think 4X games are pretty boring.
I mean, nice. If you like it, you like it. So good on you, Seamus.
You know what? Seamus just reminded me. Company Heroes. That's been a go-to.
I was about to bring that up. Yep.
For many years now.
Ever since the first Company Heroes games, I know Seamus played the first series. And then we switched over to Company Heroes 2 when that was coming out. Right now we're on Company Heroes 3. It's, we don't play competitively, we just comp stomp, and it's a good time.
Yeah, we play around with like the settings and see how hard we can make the AI and still survive, and how much I could get away with my spam tactics of just doing over like 20 rifleman squads and just moving around like a Zerg.
Darfox's strategy in Company of Heroes is I'm gonna build 10 units of like just Bazooka Joes and just like move them as a mass.
That was Company Heroes 2. Company Heroes 2 with Bazooka Joes. Company Heroes 3, it's a little bit hard to get Bazooka Joes. Like I can't use them for how I wanted to. So like it's easier just to do like regular riflemen and make sure they have sticky bombs, because
and that's it. You just zerg them at like the tanks, and they all throw like sticky bombs.
Yes, as Company Heroes 3, the infantry units are pretty strong.
And they are. They're very strong in that game.
Can melt really quick. Depending on what they're up against, the tanks could get just blown away. I've literally like let my tanks alone for probably a maximum of 20 seconds at most, and they're gone. Like they're literally, I had 2 or 3 tanks, and they're literally not there anymore. They're off my roster. They got exploded, and I wasn't even sure how. I don't know what did them in.
Yeah. Our Company of Heroes buddy Lightning Ball is playing Company of Heroes 3 right now in chat. It's very, very good. Yeah, I'm looking at my Steam homepage for my library. I'm looking at I'm sorting by hours played, because that's already a good way to see what's a game you spend a lot of hours on, what you keep coming back to. I'm ashamed to say this, that I have over 1,000 hours in Dota 2. That's bad.
Ain't no shame.
But doesn't it also count when you watch the tournaments?
If you did it in the application, yeah, it counts.
So I'm gonna say a couple hundred hours of that are watching the tournament stuff as well. My second highest game is Siege, Rainbow Six Siege. We play that a lot.
Yes.
And I got Company Heroes for the first series, Tales of Valor, Elden Ring, and then Team Fortress 2. Which is how Darfox and I met through Geekbox Team Fortress 2 nights. Also, Seamus as well.
What do you think about that?
Oh, wow. Tyler just said the worst data nerd is the worse than now WoW nerd. Thanks, Tyler. Thank you so much.
Dota, yeah. I would say Overwatch nerds are pretty bad sometimes. But hey,
I mean, we played a lot of Overwatch. Star Fox. Star Fox heard me like, not to like to our teammates. I would never like verbally abuse them, but like to Star Fox, I'm just like this fucking. Oh my god, this healer is not healing. What the fuck are they doing? We need to push.
yes, I heard many complaints.
Yeah.
I think my number one is Company Heroes 2 with 484 hours.
Damn, Seamus, you don't play a lot of games.
And then Dota 2 with 350, Crusader Kings, Mountain Blade, AI War, Total War 2, Total War Attila. If I summed up all the time I played sprinting the Total War games, they'd probably be the series.
So much war. Oh my god, Seamus.
I think that includes. Oh, I don't think they have Rome on this because I never played Rome through Steam, but I played a lot of that with a mod. I don't know. I spent 315 hours in Dota 2. I don't know if I played it that much, or was it just when I was watching all the.
I don't know if looking at these hours for the video games is actually like going back like as a habit though.
Yeah,
I guess
I think with Dota 2 I haven't played that in years.
Yeah, same. I had a time where I was playing a lot of Dota 2. I do not look back on that time fondly. And yeah, I'm glad to be moved on from that.
Oh, do you know what? Spring Breakers. There you go now. That's a movie every couple of years I
Jesus
come back.
Christ.
That's the assassination of Jesse James. Probably Exiled, I think, is getting up there. Where I'm like, I haven't seen Exiled in a year or two. I should have watched Exiled again.
Fucking Seamus she's been consistently getting Spring Breakers on this podcast for like the past 3 or 4 episodes.
I've seen that movie, I don't know, 4 or 5 times at this stage. Like,
Jesus.
apparently it was people being like, they were like, oh yeah, we want to watch this thing because you seem to go on about it a lot. And I'm like, I don't know, is this a good idea for you? But for me, of course, I'll always watch it again. Which I think the few times other people have watched it with me, they're like, yeah, no, this is not good. I'm like, well, you're all Philistines, so, you know, that's how it goes.
Hilarious. Well, let's end the email discussion now. Thank you for your email, Tyler. Remember, you can send emails over to mangamachinations@gmail.com. Or, just, come join our live recording. And, ask a question or make a comment. Like we talked about Toriko a little bit, because Cliff mentioned that here. Or join the Discord. Discord.me/mangamac. It's where you can join, and we have an introduction page now. So people are giving their introductions and having general chat. You can also request to join the Mahjong group as well. And ask questions there. I'll probably just answer them over on our Discord before we do the podcast recording. But lots of ways to interact with us. Of course, on Twitter and also on Blue Sky. I'm gonna be shocked if we get a question on Blue Sky. So
Hey,
it'll probably eventually happen, but probably not in the near future.
I mean, we don't get much stuff on Twitter, really. We're usually emails.
Yeah, email's the easiest way to reach us and ask a question. But yes, let's move along and do some what you been reading. So Seamus, nothing this week.
I reread Goodbye Eerie, but I don't think I have a whole lot to add from what I said before. Beyond, it's very good.
Oh, I want to bring up some stuff about that in our main discussion, because I noticed a couple things. So maybe we'll talk about it then. Yeah. I thought I saw you tweeting about some comic books though, so I don't know if you want to talk about those.
No.
Okay.
People can follow me on Twitter if they want to know what I do when I'm not reading manga.
Darfox, what about you?
A little bit of anime. Like we mentioned earlier, we finished up Ore Monogatari, or My Love Story. Very good anime, very chill, very sweet. We actually checked out the first few minutes of the live action My Love Story movie. That was interesting. So like the whole concept of My Love Story is that you have like this really big high school kid who's intimidating and people think he's an adult and stuff. He's really just like a sweetheart. And in the manga and in the anime, you have the privilege of being able to draw him literally like 3 feet taller than most of the other characters. um, but in that live action, obviously that's a little weird. So they definitely cast an adult to be Takeo, right?
We
And
gotta finish that movie.
yeah, we should watch it. It seemed like it would be fun. And he's definitely tall, but like he's not like obviously he's not like 8 feet tall because he's just an actor. And similarly with Rinko, Rinko's like kind of like average height for a girl, and in my love story, she's like tiny. So it's just funny seeing like how best they can try and emulate the kind of like comedic visuals that the manga does. Doesn't work out too well in general, but it seemed like it'd be a fun movie.
I'm sure we'll talk about it after we see it, maybe in the near future.
LB and I were also looking for like something else to watch after we finished Ore Monogatari, and we watched the first episode of Promari High.
You haven't seen that?
No, we haven't seen that. That's a weird show. It's very goofy. It's very like random. It almost feels like Adult Swim era, like random humor.
Yes,
like
that is exactly what it is.
Aqua Teen Hunger Force, just like random shit.
There's Mekazawa and all these crazy characters.
Mekazawa. Yeah, like the whole point, the whole thing with Cromartie High is that it's a high school full of delinquent, right? The stereotypical Japanese delinquent from like the 80s or whatever. So they have like pompadours, and they have toothpicks or cigarettes in the mouth and stuff like that. And they all talk all like really hard and harsh. And the main character got sent there by accident, sort of, because he did like one bad thing he got in trouble for. He got sent there, and he's like, "Oh well, nothing in the school is gonna surprise me." And it turns out there's a bear.
Wait, is that what they said in the anime?
Yeah. Like at least he made it sound like he wasn't supposed to be there, or he was surprised he got sent there or something.
Okay, I don't know. You said he only watched one episode, so I don't want to give a spoiler or whatever. So
is he a secret mob boss leader in his previous life?
I'm gonna let you watch. I don't want to give it away. I don't want to give it away, but it is not directly like correct what you were saying. So
yeah. So he's like, "Oh, nothing in the school is gonna surprise me." And he comes across like a bear, and he goes, "Whoa, there's a bear that comes to school." And he goes, "Well, now there's a bear. Nothing really can surprise me in the school. Then there's a robot for some reason." And he's called Mekazawa, which is funny. So it's just that kind of humor. It's just like random stuff. It's usually kind of sold by the voice acting and like the visuals just being really goofy. Yeah, we'll probably watch more of that. It seemed fun.
I love that show. My wife likes it too.
We also watched the first episode of, I don't know what it was fucking called. It's definitely not a Daguzu show.
Oh god,
Jahi the or Jahi won't be defeated or something like that. It's a comedy that I guess you could call it ecchi. So far, it's only like semi ecchi, where it's like some sort of demoness lord of the underworld gets her powers taken away, so she has to like get a part-time job in the human world. So it's very much kind of like that was a part-timer, and she has to deal with like her boss and her landlord and stuff like that.
Was Lightning Bolt the one who said he wanted to watch this? I'm looking at it right now. LB, are you still in chat? The great Jaw will not be defeated.
It was a collaborative effort where we were watching. We were like, I think I've heard about this, and like it seemed like it was at least like a quality animation. It was okay. Like the first episode was fine.
This demon has cat ears. She's only wearing a t-shirt. Like
right. So if there's anything dodgy about the story, the dodgy thing about the story is that Jahi normally has like an adult body. But because she got depowered, she turned into a little girl. So she's frequently like lolly. And so like if you see her like wearing a t-shirt or something, it's because she's like in her lolly form. but she could temporarily transform into her adult body, and that's what she uses to go do
And
her
then she's
9 to 5 job.
yeah, that shirt gets real tight, right? And then she's like,
yeah. It was kind
I
of
like
basic.
how you just trailed off.
What I was looking at chat, and I was because Tyler thought that he recognized it. It's kind of basic. It was fine. We'll see if we revisit it or not.
Darfox, you didn't mention what we started this week together.
What did we start?
We started watching Romance of the Three Kingdoms television show.
Not directly manga related, but there's a lot
Listen, there is so much like Japanese entertainment and manga anime stuff that like is related to the Three Kingdoms.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And similarly to when we watched Red Cliff, I think we talked about Red Cliff when we watched on this podcast. I would not enjoy this as much if I wasn't watching it with you, Dagazu, because there's a lot of like extra detail that Dagazu kind of like, or if it's not extra detail, it's more like he's kind of priming me for what's kind of what the story is going to be like for a little while. Because the interesting about excuse me to clarify, there's been multiple TV shows for Romance of the Three Kingdoms, but this is the one that aired 1994, I believe. It's one of like the more famous ones that's like kind of like beloved and kind of set some of the most famous portrayals of these characters. The interesting thing about this TV show, and I guess it kind of has to be this way if it's following the story. The first episode kind of introduces a lot of the main characters, and then the next 3 episodes, and maybe the next 4 episodes. We haven't seen the 5th episode yet, so I'm not quite sure where it goes from there. But it starts hanging out with the like will eventually become the bad guys. It really kind of shows Cao and kind of where he comes from. But like it's not even like showing from Kao's perspective, it's just showing kind of like the politics that's happening within the court that he's from and kind of like all the backstabbing that's happening. So for 3 episodes at least, it kind of just leaves the main character and it goes out to this other thing. And I get the feeling that the novel is just like that, and the story's gonna do that sometimes. It's just gonna go off and show you all this other stuff that's been happening.
Yes.
So it's definitely aided by Dagazu being there and being like, because if I didn't know anything about Three Kingdoms, I'd be like confused and kind of like maybe even frustrated where I'd be like what's up with those 3 other guys that they spent that whole episode like introducing? Where are they? But with Dagazu being there, he's like, oh yeah, so now they're showing you the court and the 10 eunuchs and what they try to do and when they try to usurp the court and all that stuff. So like I had the context that this is gonna be kind of like a side diversion. It's gonna set up Cao and stuff that he's gonna do in the future.
Yeah, like it was a really confusing thing when we were watching the episode on the courts because there was Lady Dogwater.
Dogwater, yeah.
That wasn't her name.
But Empress Dogwater.
Dar just misread it and started calling her Lady Dogwater. I was dying laughing.
Yeah, Empress Dogwater was the mother of one of the emperors, and she used to be a concubine because that was just how it was. Like I guess the previous emperor would fuck around, and if you're lucky enough to get one of his kids, then suddenly you were in the palace and you had the royal life. She used to be a concubine, and she was very much like trying to hold on to this power, and she was kind of scheming with the 10 eunuchs to keep like her kid as the emperor. But shit goes down, and then
replaced by her daughter-in-law, which becomes the new Empress Dogwater.
Yeah, because
we were confused. We were like, "Wait, is Dogwater back?"
Yeah, no, the original Dogwater dies. She gets killed off by poisoning. There's a lot of like poisoning stuff happening. But yeah, one of the reasons I call her Dogwater is that she kind of sucked. She was pretty shitty. But that's the thing that you kind of have to deal with in the Three Kingdoms is that like pretty much everybody's kind of shitty, especially when that part of the story is taking place like in those courts. Like everybody is vying for control. It's not like there's a righteous alignment or anything. It's just like I want to be in power, so I'm gonna fuck this person this way, and I want to be in power. So maybe I was too harsh on Dogwater. Maybe Dogwater was just was just doing the dog race, the rat race, excuse me, and she ended up short. But
listen, man, this show is like over 80 episodes long. It's gonna be a long haul as we like keep watching them.
I ain't never gonna forget Dogwater though. Even when we like episode 79, I'll be thinking like, if Dogwater were still alive at this point, I wonder what she'd be doing.
But the other thing with that TV series, it's not solely based on the novel. It's also based on like the work of history the novel is based on. So
nice.
It's not like because I think like Chow Chow is like portrayed more closer to how he was in reality as opposed to in the book, which means basically he's not portrayed as like, oh, this lad's a wanker.
Yes. In the original novel, Romance of the Three Kingdoms, he's set up to be like the bad guy. But I was telling to help Darfox, Seamus, I was relating a lot of these like famous like characters to wrestlers that Darfox would recognize.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
So, like, a couple of people show up, and when Guan Yu showed up, I'm like, oh, dude, this guy's the best. He's great at everything. It was basically like Cesaro. He's just, like, good at everything, and everybody loves him. He's, like, super strong and super tall.
He's got a big beard. That's what Sarah doesn't have.
Yeah, I was, Lu Bu showed up, and, Lu Bu's very famous, super strong general. I was comparing him to, like, oh, crap, I can't remember his name.
Moxley?
No, he's not Moxley. Zhang Fei is Moxley.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
What was it saying?
I was literally thinking that. I'm like, no, I think Moxley would be Zhang Fei.
Yeah.
Zhang Fei was like he
was the third brother.
He cares about fighting, and he's kind of simple-minded, and he's kind of brash. Yeah.
Possible drinking problems. No, nice thing to say about John Moxley. I'm sorry.
Did you say Bryan Danielson? Is that who you said for
Liu-Bei? Well, the problem is Bryan Danielson is still good right now, and Liu-Bei is someone who is good, like very moral and just. And Bryan Danielson's done so many different roles and things, so it's kind of hard to relate to that. I don't know. I didn't have a good wrestler for Liu-Bei, but I just remember Lu Bu I said was Brock Lesnar.
Yes. so that meant
Dong Zhuo was Paul Heyman.
Dougie.
Yeah.
Dougie was Paul Heyman. Yeah.
Yes.
Which instantly made sense to both of us when we were like, so is he Paul Heyman? It's like, yeah, he is.
Yeah, I was calling Cao Cao maybe Seth Rollins, maybe a little bit. I don't know. It's kind of hard to have direct like comparisons to like current active or well-known wrestlers to like these
Chris Jericho and AEW just latching onto other people to make himself no.
Okay. Chris Jericho is Liu-Bei then, because that's Liu-Bei. A little bit. I don't know. We can have a further discussion about this, Seamus. But yeah. Darfox and I have been watching that Romance of the Three Kingdoms TV show, and it's been good. I want to bring it up on this podcast.
One interesting thing about the production of it, first of all, it's a huge production. A lot of extras. Looks like a lot of on-location shooting. There's definitely sets, but like there's a lot of like shooting outside. They definitely spent money on this show. It's a TVB show, so the TVB is like one of the big stations in Hong Kong. And one interesting thing they do is that whenever one of the characters is saying one of the really famous quotes, the text comes up on screen. So me, I'm not very familiar with it. The moment I see text come up on screen, I'm like, oh, I know this is a very famous part of the book or a very famous moment for this character, because
yes,
they're actually just like transliterating what he's saying live on screen. And that's also like a fun aspect of it, because it almost vicariously lets me live through like just the famous aspects of the story that it's kind of lost on me, because obviously I didn't grow up with it and I'm not that familiar with it.
You're learning right now.
Yeah, I'm learning. It's a fun story. It's definitely an epic.
you're gonna run into some crazy shit. You already saw crazy shit in the first 4 episodes, so
Yeah,
Actually,
Kakao's story about his family was perfect. Like, I don't know
the
what.
family friends and like the
The mistaken murder, he thought his family were going to betray him, so he kills them, and then he realized that it was a mistake. The family was never going to betray him, so then he doubles down and just ends up killing everybody.
And then his famous line with the hard subs, it's like, I'd rather betray the world than the world betray me.
Yeah, it's very like I'm not sure what the best like literary term for it would be, but it's just like it's very like just poetic irony. It's just like his own paranoia is just gonna do him in.
Yeah, sorry, James, you were gonna say something.
I was gonna say I'd be curious if they showed a scene where I think it's Liu Bei.
Oh yeah, don't say it. I know exactly what you're talking
no.
about. I know exactly what you're talking
What
about.
is Liu Bei gonna do?
Does this involve him having food?
Yeah, yep.
Okay, yeah. Because
Mhm.
I was like, was that in Three Kingdoms? Was it a March? And then I was rereading it. I was like, this wasn't Three Kingdoms. This scene, it's the weirdest. Yeah, it's definitely one of the weirdest things I've ever read. Where I'm like, so like, I don't know. Whenever that book was written, was during the Ming Dynasty. They were like, oh, this is obviously very good. And in the book, it's written like, this is obviously the exact right thing was done here, of course. And then I was like, now that I know more about Chinese history, and I'm like, yeah, no, now I understand why this is, of course, the correct decision that was made here.
There's a couple things, yeah. But yeah, Dara, you can look forward to that as we keep watching this Romance of the Three Kingdoms TV series from
Will they even have it? I guess would be the first question.
Yes, I'd be interested to know if it comes up. And if it doesn't come up, I'll mention it to Dar.
I'm still learning like the names. Which one's Liu Bei again?
Liu Bei is the hero from the first episode with two brothers, Zhang Fei and Guan Yu.
These are really noble leaders.
Actually, did they call him Liu Bei or did they call him? Because see, I'm rereading it now as well, and they switch between that and in the book it's more commonly. I don't even know how you pronounce it. Xuan. Is it DE or DE?
They call them both. They specifically the characters verbalize it. That is their what is it? Their titles. They have two names. They have like their
style
born
name. It's their
style name. Yes. So like the characters themselves verbalize it, like, oh, my name is so and so, but you could call me this because this is my style name. So they call them both in the show, which is extra confusing for me because I need to learn both names.
I mean, so like that's Liu Bei, Darfox. That's that guy, and that's Cesaro. Remember Cesaro?
Yeah.
But yeah, we're having a good time watching that together, so I want to bring it up. And after this, Star, you can finally like get all the references that that one character from Prison School was making.
Gakto, yeah. After this, I gotta rewatch Prison School and listen to Gakto be like,
remember his little Three Kingdoms doll? That's Guan Yu on red hair.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah. But yeah. Anything else to say about Three Kingdoms, Dar? We should move on.
We'll move on.
Okay. Nothing else from you then?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. This week I want to talk about the Three Kingdoms thing with Dar. You know what? This is gonna be kind of more of a discussion than a specific manga thing that I'm talking about, but I want to talk about Manga Plus. When Seamus was out a couple weeks ago, Darfox and I did an episode on Manga Plus, which is like the world like manga service, like online manga app for like Shueisha's manga. It's got the Weekly Shonen Jump stuff on it as well. In America, of course, we still have the Viz app, the Shonen Jump app, which is separate. This is very confusing. But Manga Plus, if you head over to mangaplus.shueisha.co.jp, it gives you the latest chapters of all these series, and it's more unique because they have the stuff from their Japanese counterpart, Shonen Jump Plus. This week they added a manga that just started called History's Mentalist. Dar, I'm sending you a link. This is a brand new series, right? I want to bring up a discussion point about how Shueisha decides what new series on Shonen Jump Plus is going to get like a day and date like world release on this Manga Plus app for the world, because this Manga Plus app is supposed to be like outside of Japan, right? Covers like other English speaking countries, India. There's like a Spanish version of this as well. Dar, just look at the description. Can you please read the description of this History's Mentalist manga that started this week? It's a brand new manga.
In a world reshaped by coronavirus, everything around grad student Sakutaro seems to have changed, except for himself. But the gears of history start to turn when Buddha's emissary suddenly appoints him as history's mentalist. While taken aback by the unexpected flaws of the great historical figures he encounters, Sakutaro begins to hopefully re-examine himself in the face of their earnest endeavors. Can he survive the challenges of both the past and the present? Sounds kind of heady.
He's basically becomes a therapist for historical figures that are bummed. The first chapter is about him hanging out with Minamoto no Yoshitsune. It's a character, Seamus and Darfox, if you remember from Tezuka Osamu's Phoenix Civil War, about the Taira War.
Later, yeah.
This is a long time ago, but yeah. It's a character from that period of Japan. This is before Oda Nobunaga, right? And this is very Japanese, right? Even at the end of this first chapter, they mentioned other characters, and they were like all Japanese generals. And I was just like, why did you make this decision to do this manga series that is about very, very heavily going to be themed on Japanese culture and Japanese history for the world audience, But a manga like Red Cat Ramen, which is going for a long time and I loved, and that's the manga about cats running a ramen shop. I feel like that has way more world appeal and is easygoing to like a worldwide audience. Like, why did that take so long to have an English release?
That's because the octopus didn't pick it.
The octopus
didn't pick it.
Yeah, they got that World Cup octopus from years ago to pick which manga they put out in English.
Jesus.
That's a pool. Is the octopus still around? How long does the octopus live?
I don't know. I also don't know how long that World Cup was. For all I know, the fuck was dead. Like, but hey, I think he did fairly well in that World Cup, didn't he? Or did he? Or did it?
He had. If I remember correctly, he had a string, like a long string of correct guesses. But then it eventually, because it was all random, right? And eventually, he stopped guessing correctly.
Yeah, well, no, that's because the original one died because he was getting too much. He quote unquote died. Because they were like, all right, well, this octopus can predict the future. We can put him to better use than the World Cup.
Oh, hilarious!
They put him in a government office somewhere,
and somehow Shueisha ended up with him.
Oh Jesus!
See, now that's a manga. If that's a free one manga out there, make a fucking manga about that octopus, bro. The trial and tribulation of Octopus Kun.
I mean, I know Seamus is making a joke here, but like, it honestly makes more sense than what gets put up on Manga Plus.
Well, I don't know. See, you're like, because this is a Manga Plus. Like, it's not just English. It's also, don't they do like Spanish and do they have any other languages now?
They do a lot of languages,
but
it isn't across the board. Like, some of them get Spanish, some of them get this and that. It might be a time thing. Like, over time, they fill out all series. But like right now, I think this one only has English. I believe.
Yeah, most of them start in English, and if they're really popular, they do like Spanish. I think they do Indian. They might do Chinese. They do a bunch. Like, this is the World app, right? So, Dart, I want you to just look at like I took Dart to the update page because it's.
Right,
yeah, because if you look down the list, you obviously have the Weekly Shonen Jump stuff, and there's a couple manga that we talked about as you scroll down. But there's a lot of manga that just started on Shonen Jump Plus, the Japanese site, that get like their first from the first chapter. They're like, "Let's go! It's on the app. It's gonna be we're gonna do it in English." And I'm just like, why? Why is History's Mentalist getting an English release when it's so very Japanese and strange? Like, I just like, how come Japanese history is okay, but then a manga, like I talked about this manga before, but there's a manga on Shonen Jump Plus where a vampire is playing shogi, and Morgana was like still here at the time, and she was like, "That sounds amazing," and I was like, "Yeah, it is. It's really good." But like shogi manga, fucking if it has shogi in it, they don't like to like bring it over. Think about how long it took for like March Comes In Like a Lion to get an English release from Dempa right now. It's so weird what they're like, what they like the Japanese companies and the publishers consider this is gonna work and this is not gonna work. There's a manga called Sachi's Records. It's a weird comedy manga where this little girl is observed by a demon and an angel. And the final score determines the fate of the mankind. I think it's kind of, comedy manga is usually kind of middling in a lot of aspects. There's some good ones, of course. Like there's like Me and Roboco, very funny comedy manga, runs in Weekly Shonen Jump. But this one has been like, I read it, but I'm like, I kind of chuckle, but not really. And like this got like immediately released. It's just like boggles my mind sometimes when I look at Manga Plus. I'm just like, why? Why did this get an English release? I just kind of want to bring it up on the podcast. Because some of them make way more sense. Like, Dark Fox, you read Shibatarian.
Yeah.
You loved it. Very good choice, But some of these other ones, it's like, why is this here? There's a new manga series called Mikane and the Sea Woman. It's not about a mermaid. It's about a woman that looks like one of those sea anemones. A sea cow is what they're called. Darch scrolling trying to find it. Mikane and the Sea Woman.
Yep.
Look at that, Dar. That's okay. I mean, that made more sense to me than like History's Mentalist. I guess this is a hard question to like discussion to have though, because I don't know if Seamus's joke about the octopus is like it's like the best guess we can make, right? About why.
Like the other one could be is like they don't know themselves, so they're just like, put them out, see what happens, do it enough times. Like you'll end up, building up some kind of like data analytics to be like, yeah, this might be worth it, this might not be. But I don't know, are they like that? I don't know. Are they at that level where they're like literally
experimenting
like
for data?
Yeah, or is it just like, go on, yeah, we'll throw it up, sure, we'll see what happens.
It's just funny to me because Red Cat Ramen seemed like such a slam dunk for like mass appeal, and it's getting an English release now, but like it's been out for years at this point, and now it's finally happening.
What I will say though is that like I think they don't want to shy away from the very Japanese stuff because in part a lot of its audience wants Japanesey stuff. And like the example of shogi would be a good example of something that's like might present two barriers. It presents the Japanese barrier, but it also presents like this is a whole ass game with a whole rule set barrier that a lot of people might not know. So shogi they might consider like a harder sell because there's multiple things going kind of against it. Whereas this, the one barrier it has, besides its apparent quality or whatever, it might be good or bad. The one barrier it might have is that like it's very steeped in Japanese history, but that might appeal to basically weebs. And as long as the story doesn't have any other barriers, as long as the story actually introduces the characters, whether they be historical figures or not, and sets up their problems, and then they have a character arc, whether or not they have actual historical relevance, is semi-irrelevant. In a case like this, it being so steeped in Japanese history might be a selling point, depending. I agree, it is a hard sell, but like
I guess.
Depending on the audience, like they might want like super kawaii Japanese history or something. I don't know.
Well, it's a bit like because you mentioned Nobunaga, but there was this game that came out. I don't know how many years ago. It was like maybe only 5 or 6 years ago. It was like Nobunaga's Ambition. It was like this Japanese like PC strategy game. They eventually released it in English, and I think
They did.
it did like decently. Like I don't think it was this massive seller, but it was like there was like an interest in like the first Total War game was like set in Japan, and like I do think there's like a core of people who have like interest in that period of Japanese history and like those characters, like Dar said,
It's like the localization trap we fell into, like in the I guess you could say early 90s, where a lot of times they will localize anime and they'll change the name of the characters to Phil or Matt or something, and they wouldn't give the Japanese names because it'd be like
Darien in Sailor Moon.
Yeah, like American people, they can't pronounce Japanese names, or it's incompatible or something like that. And then eventually that wisdom kind of went away, and the conventional wisdom kind of went to like, these are Japanese in identity, and a lot of the people reading them want that Japanese stuff. They want the Japanese names. They don't want that stuff like paved over in concrete. They actually want to engage with the fact that this is from a different culture, whether it be just because of curiosity or because they're fetishizing the culture. It's a completely different conversation, obviously, but like this could be like that's the only thing I could think about. History's mentalist is like, well, there's people out there who like certain aspects of Japanese history, like Oda Nobunaga and stuff like that, the famous stuff, and maybe they're gonna kick out of this stuff. Is kind of what I'm thinking.
I mean, I guess so. It's just like this manga came out this week, and I was just thinking, I think this manga's fine, but then I saw Manga Plus and was like, why? So, want to bring it up.
Also, is mentalist a typical name for like a therapist that I'm not aware of? I thought a mentalist was like illusionist or something like that.
Oh, based on Dr. Stone, right? Yeah.
Oh no, I don't know. I thought a mentalist was somebody who was like a magician basically. But I didn't know.
Isn't there a TV show called The Mentalist?
Yeah, I don't know what it's about.
There was. It was like some guy who helps the police solve murders, and his wife was murdered, and I'm not sure what his thing was. Sure, he's some. He was a mentalist, whatever that means.
I think they're supposed to read the people and slowly manipulate the people. Their marks. That at least that's what they are in like in the situation where they're like magicians or something, where they're like they set something up, like pick a card kind of thing, and they lead the people to picking the right card. And
like fortune tellers and like
it's that kind of thing. It's supposed to be like a charade, but it's played up like, hey, like, oh my god, you picked the card. Is this your card? And they set it up the whole time. I think that's kind of like that's my understanding what Mentalist was. But
so in the show, he was pretended to be a psychic medium, and he helped CB California Bureau of Investigation people solve murders.
So it was like Psych, where you was a really good detective, but you pretended to be psychic.
That's kind of weird for this manga, though, because the main thing about the main guy here that gets recruited by Heaven or whatever to like help these historical figures, he wasn't really using like any kind of like psych stuff. He was just using his knowledge of like history that mostly helped this person. He acted more like a therapist, so I don't know if he's going to start to play some of these characters and like kind of dupe them to like get them out of funk. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'd have to read more.
Yeah, maybe something. Google just says that a magician who performed feats that apparently demonstrate extraordinary mental powers, such as mind reading. So maybe these historical figures are blown away by like his like knowledge of history, and they think
that is not what happens in the first episode. Let me tell you. In this first chapter, let me tell you.
Is he like claiming that like he's talking to the spirit of Oba Nobunaga?
No, he's literally like the spirit or like the ghost of Yoshitsune is there and like hanging out in his apartment. And he has to like basically care for him until like he feels better and moves on. And the way that happens is like it's during the COVID lockdown, and they're able to go to like a bathhouse, which is kind of questionable. Like, how were you able to like? I'm surprised one was open, but they go and like afterwards they're hanging out, and there's a TV show about like there's a new drama about the Tyler War, and like people are talking about, oh yeah, I love that character Yoshitsune. He's such a good guy. Like he's not a good guy. He's set up to be a villain, but they love like how his life. They admire his life, and seeing that on TV helps like the guy move on. It's just like the main character didn't do anything. Just took him out to dinner and a meal. It just happened to work out. So I don't know. Maybe I'll report back on the manga, but I more wanted to bring up, like I said, my questioning of like what goes into the decision making of this series is coming out on Manga Plus day in, first day, and other series don't. So that was it. That's all I had this week. That and Three Kingdoms. So we will end What You've Been Reading. Before we take a break and go on to our main segment, I have a very exciting announcement. Morgana is coming back.
Woo!
Finally, she can save us from the spring breakers that Seamus keeps bringing up. Yeah, Morgana is ready to return from maternity leave. We're very excited to have her back. I miss talking to her. I miss her dearly. It's going to be great having her back on this podcast. To celebrate, we're going to do a Twipple Dip. I asked Morgana, hey, what do you want to do? And she was like, hey, that third collection of Yokohama Kaidashi Kiko came out. And I was like, perfect. We'll read that. We'll also read the next Die Dark. And we'll read essentially what is the next volume of Chainsaw Man as well. Because that's what we've been doing with Twipple Dip. It's just our excuse to keep... It's basically like kind of like an ongoing retrospective on Die Dark, Yokohama Kaidashi Kiko, and Chainsaw Man.
Yep.
So yeah, Chainsaw Man Volume 5 from 7 Seas, Yokohama Kaidashi Kiko Deluxe Edition 3 from 7 Seas as well. And that's a 3-in-1, so that covers volumes 7, 8, and 9. So a lot of reading there. And we're going to read the chapters for volume 15 on Chainsaw Man. Not available, the volumes aren't available in English yet, but you can read the chapters that would be included in volume 15 Chainsaw Man, which is chapters 123 to chapter 133. So that is what we are reading next week for Morgana's I can't speak.
Gloria's return.
Glorious return. All right, it's definitely time to take a break. But yeah, next week, Twipple Dip, Yokohama Kaidashi Kiko, Die Dark, and Chainsaw Man. Stay tuned for that. All right, I'm gonna go rest my tongue because I'm tongue-tied. And when we come back, it'll be time to do our final retrospective episode on Fire Punch. Okay, everybody, we are back. And it is time to finish Fire Punch, Tatsuki Fujimoto's debut series that he did for Shonen Jump Plus. Started in 2016. For this final retrospective episode, we read volumes 7 and 8, or chapters 61 through 83. I don't even know where to start with this, so again, I'm just going to throw to Darfox. Darfox, talk to me about your experience reading these final two volumes of Fire Punch. I guess, were you surprised by things? Were you shocked by some things? What stood out to you here?
Good question. Hold on. Put my face on screen. That's a good question. I think I wasn't shocked, really. I think I felt like what happened was kind of inevitable. Um, and in fact, it was just kind of like good storytelling that they would go back to the whole religion thing and son that became a big deal in the story. Um, and then the ending was way more nice than I expected. It's still like melancholic and weird and in some ways downer, but it was also just kind of nice. You know, when you're dealing with the scale of like immortality and stuff like that, it was kind of a nice ending.
I would agree. I would agree. Of course, I've read this before, but yeah, rereading it, I thought kind of similar things. It was like, well, in the last 3 volumes, last week's episode, we talked about how everything happened and none of it was good. And like, what can you fucking expect from Agni now living a false life? He lives it for 10 years. That's a long ass time of him, like, doing this false, like, fake family situation, you
Some
know.
people do that their whole lives.
Very true, very true. Is there a resolution of any characters or storylines that you did not like then, Dar? Sounds like you generally, thought everything was good then.
Yeah, I guess from my perspective, I was more thinking about it from like, is this gonna be an ultra depressing story that's gonna kind of double down on just kind of like the darkest aspects of people, or if it's gonna pull up at the end and be like, hey, it's actually not that, like there is some silver lining, and I guess it did pull up a little bit in the sense that like so um the the persona that is Agni essentially like eroded over time. Whoever Agni is just like over the many decades of him being alive and suffering, he just was only left with the expectations of what people wanted from him and the stuff that he wanted from Luna or Judah, essentially. So like he kind of at the end he kind of embraces like, oh, I'm Fire Punch now. But he actually like doesn't kill everybody. He says, "Stay away from me, or I'll kill you," kind of thing, right?
Oh, yeah, it's when he leaves. I forget the name of Doma's daughter, and then also, like, her daughter as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like he could have the story could have gone full bore into just like as like grungy and dark as it could be, and just make him kill everybody. He spent 10 years with. I mean, he kind of already did that when he killed Doma and his encampment, but he didn't spend 10 years with them. He did it like to them they were just nobody, um, except for people standing in his way of what he really wanted, which was to kill Doma. Um, so that was kind of nice of him to not kill everybody, not only kill most of the people, but not everybody.
It would have been real fucked up because prior to that moment where he just leaves Doma's daughter, she forgives him. She forgives him for being Fire Punch, killing her father, ruining their lives. Because they spent 10 years together. And she doesn't want him to go try and save Judah and become Fire Punch again. Because that's just it's gonna be bad. Just stay with us. Live with us. Let go of Judah. Try to find some happiness. It's kind of a sweet moment in this story. Of course, he chooses not to, but he does not kill them before he leaves. He just leaves.
And then he decides to who does he kill in the church? The Church of Fire Punch. I read it yesterday, but for some reason I'm blanking. Does he?
I mean, he kills Sun. That's the big one.
Yeah, he kills Sun, but Sun doesn't care. So Sun was kind of like a
Sun's
shit.
gone off the deep end.
Yeah, yes.
Like-
Sun was kind of Sun was always a shitter, but he was a kid shitter. So like you kind of had to forgive him a little bit. But now he's like an adult shitter. So like, the gloves are off now. um,
The end of Sun is fucking ridiculous. It is the way that Sun refuses to accept this person as his beloved Lord Agni. And then, even after... First of all, it's because Agni shows up and his entire face is on fire. It's like, that's not his face! And everyone's like, what's wrong? The face can be different. It can still be him. He's like, I don't want a different face! And how he just, destroys Agni, basically to the point where you think, Agni's dead. This is it. Agni still holds on to being alive, and then comes back, and then burns Sun, and Sun is burning and begging Agni for help, and then Agni is just looks at him and is like, who? He doesn't know who he is. And
they had just established that if he destroy his brain enough, he'll forget.
Yeah, and forgot everything at the end, forgets who he is, forget what he did, forgets who Sun is as Sun, dies burning. I guess, Dar, do you feel bad for Neneto? One of the few characters that survives till the end of a natural death?
Not really. I feel bad as far as anybody for having to suffer their existence, but it's Neneto had it okay, I guess I could say.
Well, it's established she obviously was in a relationship or something with Sun. Agni kills Sun. And then, Judah at the end says, I'm gonna become the tree and I will warm the earth, but you have to promise to take care of Agni. And Neneto's like, this guy did so many bad things and just killed Sun. Probably the love of her life, or whatever, the person she liked the most. And at the end, Agni isn't even called Agni anymore. He's called Sun. So they remade him into Sun, and she had to do that. I think that's a little cruel and fucked up. That's kind of my take on that.
It's a cruel world.
It's a cruel world.
I can see that as a cruel action, but I can also see it as it didn't work out. If Agni knew they did that to him, he kind of wouldn't care. Because at that point his identity's so far gone. He's just complete. It's not like his identity was the most important thing to him. It really wasn't. I feel like that was just another thing to happen to him in his long existence. In fact, it kind of barely registers on the being set aflame for decades on end, scale.
Okay, so you're talking about the end, which is after all of this happens, and then Neneto stays with Sun, Agni as Sun, and she passes away, and they've warmed Earth, but now and they've made what we feel, but now there's war breaking out, and people are gonna use horrible weapons of mass destruction to bomb the Earth and make it into a hellscape.
Sure, there is actual weapons of mass destruction, or it's not just her trying to find an excuse for a war.
The girl at the end telling
Yeah.
Agni all this? Maybe.
It's already happened once.
Yeah. But the thing, Dar, you're talking about is it jumps a century, and then we see Judah, who is just in space in this tree, going through the motions of growing the tree to absorb nutrients from other planets to keep Earth warm, and just keeps jumping millennia while it keeps cutting her and be like, I'm bored, the pain sucks, I think of this man that I'm doing it for, eventually she can't remember Agni's name. She can't even remember exactly why she was doing it. And the way the series ends, Earth is gone. It's been shattered by hitting like another like planetary object.
It might have been Judo's doing. She doesn't
Yeah.
even know.
Yeah. But life on Earth is probably already far gone. And she is just stuck in space for all eternity with nothing to do, hoping for everything to end. But the nice part you said, Dar, is in the final chapter, Agni comes. He is also naked and floating in space. And they are able to reconnect. They don't remember anything about their past, but they're able to have a connection before they pass away. It says they both fall asleep. Like Agni falls asleep and then Judah falls asleep.
It's kind of implied just because it ends with the movie theater,
Yes.
which is always like the lie that was told / maybe it's true, where everybody goes to a movie theater at the end.
When you die, yes.
Yeah.
I think that's fine to interpret that they finally were able to die.
Well, maybe they had some deep instinctual programming that they always regenerate. They always
Kept going for
kept
like
going
thinking
until they had like that final connection.
Because it keeps like in these final 2 volumes when Agni is faced with horrible things where he's getting shot or getting burned or getting fucked up in fights, it almost always cuts to shots of, I would say, both Judah and Luna. The two of them. Because at some point, his love for Luna became his love for Judah. Would you agree, Dar? There's no difference between the two.
Yep.
Also, they have sex.
They had the sex.
They have the sex. I'm talking about Agni and Judah. Luna's dead. His actual sister is dead. This is not incest. Even though Judah is been, brainwashed, duped. I don't even know how to explain it. Maybe she's just playing a part again. She's going along with the fact that she's...
Well, she does. She's like, yeah, no, I figured out you're not my actual brother there years ago, so...
Yeah, she gets enough brain faculties to kind of like think for herself as opposed to just be like a doll for Agni's like fascination.
Yeah, not like in the previous volume where after the first attempt at the tree, she seemed to kind of like lose mental capacity, almost become like an infant.
I think it's more just like what happens to Agni. Like, there's no memory, so there's no like self to speak of.
So, Seamus, you talked earlier about rereading Goodbye Eri.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think like that's something that Tatsuki Fujimoto took from this Fire Punch series and kind of put in Goodbye Eri a little bit? Because this spoilers for Goodbye Eri, but in that series, Eri is a vampire, and they want to make this movie for memory because what did they say? Like every 200 years, your brain dies and then resets, and then you have no memory. I was reading the stuff about like Agni losing his memory and Judo losing her memory, and I was just thinking, oh, this is like a concept that was here that exists in Goodbye Eri as well. I wonder if that's something that Tatsuki Fujimoto kind of held on to. Maybe learned about that somewhere and like reading some research that like the human brain can't handle more than like X amount of years before it just goes poop.
I'd love to know what research someone did that they figured out that.
Me too.
We'll probably also find the World Cup octopus there as well, and I'm assuming JFK.
Yeah.
The octopus, bro.
Are we gonna add that to the bingo card now? We're gonna keep bringing up the World Cup octopus.
And we're never gonna look up what their name was or anything. It's just the octopus.
Fucking Manga Mech lore. Just keep bringing up new shit. You gotta keep listening to every episode so you can follow along with all the inside jokes. Seamus, how was it for you rereading the end of Fire Punch? You have any thoughts?
Kind of forgotten some of it, and more of it I kind of remembered.
Any particular parts you had forgotten, or
I think like the whole thing with Neto, and she comes back. She's like, "All right, oh, you won't give it to me now. All right, Grandma, I'll come back in like 3 days." And she's like, "Well, we're just going to blow it up now because obviously he's never giving it back." But I like that bit, and it also kind of I think fit with like Fujimoto's kind of thing here of it's like it never goes as expected. It's always like, no, we're just going to cut out like the waiting around. We're just going to do this now, and then people are just going to have to deal with it.
yeah, I like that too. I had also forgotten about that, where Neneto's like, I'll come back tonight and let you have a choice, and then later, like, they're already invading. We're like, no, we're not giving him a choice. We already gave him a choice, and pick no.
Oh, and when Agni had his face cut off, or he cut off his face.
That was so fucking gruesome. That was the fight with the Iron Man, right? The guy in the briefs, yeah. I was trying to remember. I was like, how did that guy die again as we were rereading this for this retrospective? And like, yeah.
Did he die on camera though? Because like he was asking for death, but then he was interrupted, right?
I think he was dying right there, though. Yeah, I think he was in the process of dying.
Right, because he doesn't have regenerative powers. He just has the iron power, so he's probably succumbing to his wounds anyways. But
and just begging Agni, don't save me, let me die.
Oh, and I did like the whole thing between Sun and Neto, where she's like, "Oh, what was it like?" They were arguing over how does his powers make sense, and it's like, how can he breathe? He doesn't need air because obviously his oxygen's on fire. So that's what Sun was saying. And he was like saying, well, like, if this is true, then how come the Earth isn't on fire either? This is the exact kind of arguments people have over like the weirdness of their religious beliefs.
The fall of Sun is really good in this series. Like, introducing him at the beginning as just like a kid who gets saved by accident, totally by accident by Agni, and then just becomes like this worshiper, and Sun is presented as kind of a simpleton, and then becoming like basically apostle for Fire Punch.
He is Agni St. Paul, taking what he said and just been like, I think we're going to push it in my own direction. Except Jesus came back. Except I guess Jesus didn't come back and kill St. Paul publicly, so.
I had forgot that by the time I remember that when he's an adult, he has mechanical feet, and now he is, spreading the gospel of Fire Punch, and he's completely figured out how to use his electricity powers to become like super powerful. But also that he was working with like the Ice Witch character and some other guy to like basically do what they were doing at the civilization. I keep Behemgorg or whatever. I keep forgetting the name of the place that they destroyed. They're basically doing it all over again, just in the name of Fire Punch. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I think the one difference there is Agni is like a true believer. It reminded me of like this term I heard years ago.
Agni or Sun?
Oh, Sun, Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, by the end.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, what was the phrase? Bootleggers and Baptists. It was like the two people who were massively in favor of prohibition were Baptists for religious reason, and bootleggers because they were going to make a shitload of money, and they both, didn't formally work together. But the bootleggers were like, "Oh yeah, I'm definitely in favor of prohibition. I'm just going to say it's for religious reasons, but really, I'm going to make so much money." But that was very much the other problem there is the Baptist finds out they're like, fuck it, I got lightning powers, I'll just kill you.
Yeah, Sun obviously being the Baptist, and I guess the other two being the bootlegger. Yeah. It's very good.
What was his thing then about like, oh yeah, there's no point making the world warm again because then we won't die and we won't be close to God.
Yeah, and it's okay because even if we die in afterlife, we'll be blessed and go to heaven led by Lord Agni. So we don't have to warm the earth anymore. We're just gonna fucking execute Judah for crimes.
They hadn't yet figured out the prohibition against suicide. That's what I was thinking. It was like, I guess Judah is the only person. No one actually kills himself in this manga. Well, I guess they try. Agni tries, and people keep stopping him.
That was so dark. How like even though Agni is no longer on fire, and he had been living with the there's like kind of a time lapse of him living with those people, and it's like every other panel is a shot of his arm as it's slowly regenerating, the arm that he was like missing. And even at like when his arm is back, he has his both arms again. I think it was implied that like he's like, I need to go out and cut the woods, and like, little girl, you can't come with me because it's dangerous. And then it just cuts to him like he's tried to like impale himself on a chainsaw. Chainsaw reference, Star Fox. And yeah, he's probably been trying to kill himself every day for that decade living with that family. He mentioned that he no longer tastes food. He can't sleep anymore. It became easier to lie because he didn't feel anything. Like, already setting up a horrible existence, Star. Like on a different level than what Judah goes through at the end of the story. But
it's kind of sad when the son of Doma, like, or the daughter of Doma, called him out on that. And he's like, well, how did you know? Like, well, I lived with you for 10 years. You just know.
Yeah. Again, that was a very sweet moment in this fucking awful story. There could have been a different version of the story where, Agni found happiness with them letting go of Judah, but that's not the story.
No, that wouldn't have happened.
This is a story of a man who cannot fucking let go of anything. Don't you think that's like the main theme here, Dar? Agni's motivation for everything is like, this guy can't stop. And that causes so much problems.
Yeah, but what can't he let go? I guess the only thing he can't let go of is the Luna/Judah. He kind of lets go of everything else.
I think they got down to it like when he was fighting Sun and he was almost defeated. Instead of like other people telling him to live, when he finally like hits Sun with his little bit of flame from his charred body that's still barely moving, it said, I want to live. Which I don't think he's ever said up to that point. It was other people telling him to live. It was Luna's ghost, Judah's ghost, Togata? I can't even remember like one of the best characters from the series.
They punched out pretty early. Yeah, like
all of
like
them, yeah.
halfway through.
Yeah. Oh, here's a question for both of you. When this happens when Judah's been captured, taken back to the Fire Punch, religious village. And, Sun has decided, oh, we're just gonna kill Judah now. We're gonna burn her and punish her for what she's done. For, like, taking Lord Agni's love for herself and not sharing it with everybody else. Like me. He's about to kill her, and he looks at Judah and says, your face looks like mine. Is this a case where, because I think the Fire Witch character mentioned, the Ice Witch, can't speak. The Ice Witch character mentioned that I look just like Judah, except I have a branch coming out of half of my face. But there are versions of us that are alive, and they're the ones that have the ability to control all the blessings. That's why they're gonna make Judah into the tree, right? The Ice Witch character can't because they're a little fucked up. They got the branch. Is Luna, Judah, the Ice Witch, and Sun all same part of the same like type of person that has control over all the blessings? Is that what's implied?
I think they're probably all like the same. I don't know. It's probably like some kind of genetic engineering in the past. I don't know though. I think there's nothing to imply that like Sun or Luna had any powers beyond like lightning and regeneration.
Right. But maybe they, like you said, they're from a same cloning or genetic manipulation which is why they all look similar, right? And I wonder, like, I don't know if that was maybe that was set up right from the beginning.
Oh, I think it was when, because I kind of forgotten about that as well till the Ice Witch said it to Judah about how like it was just implied like they're basically like just the same from like some stuff that was in the past, which of course no one knows about, which then is like why everyone is like, oh, there must be some meaning to this, and it's like, nah, it's just genetic engineering.
That's really interesting too to think about how you have these 4 different characters that are like they're the same, like genetically, I guess, like from a story lore perspective. But then you have like one is the sister of Agni, who gets killed off. Next is the at first antagonist, Judah. Oh no, not Judah first. Next is Sun, someone Agni saves. Then it's Judah, who is an antagonist until it's until not later. And then the last is the Ice Witch character who like kind of like, I'm gonna give the exposition and the reason why everything is like this. Explain everything. They all have different roles in the story. Even though they're like, from the lore perspective, they're like genetically the same or whatever. That's kind of interesting to see too. Dar, are you trying to flip through the pages of Fire Punch and bring it up on the stream? Is that what you're doing? Dar, we cannot hear you.
Oh yeah, I was muted. Yeah, I finally found it.
You found the page where, Sun is choking out Judah and saying, "You look just like me. Why?"
And curious, like right before that, maybe this is kind of like the more less the lore reason and more like the story thematic reason. But like right before that, he's like, "It's because you kept Lord Agni's love all to yourself," which is kind of essentially what Sun is kind of attempting to do.
Yeah, Sun is jealous because he loves Lord Agni so much.
So that bit of irony is that they are maybe genetically the same, and he's kind of,
he was not chosen.
Calling the kettle black here.
So Fujimoto was endorsing the Mary Magdalene, Mary Jesus theory of basis of that Da Vinci Code book.
Wait, what? What is this?
So there was this book written, I don't know how many years ago. It's called like Holy Blood, Holy Grail. But they were French. And they were like, there's this evidence from like the south of France that proves that like Mary Magdalene and Jesus had a kid, and like she fled to like the south of France and had like children. And I think Holy Blood, Holy Grail is the name of the book. I'm pretty sure
you brought this up on the podcast before. Yeah. I'm remembering this. Okay.
I'm just like, throwing conspiracy theories on top of this now. Because I did end up looking up like the names. Because like Agni is like the old Sanskrit word for like fire. I was like, I wonder what stories are like with Luna. And actually looking up, so there's like in, I don't know, old Hinduism, it was like Agni, Soma, and Indra. And Soma was also called Chandra, which is like the moon. And then Indra is kind of like the god of a lot of things, including lightning. But then I was reading an interview with Fujimoto. He was like, "Yeah, I just watched Evangelion," and I was like, "Oh yeah, sure, yeah, I'll throw this stuff in here." But like, to be honest, it doesn't really mean all that much.
You gotta love it when you're digging deep for like.
Because I even thought that myself. I'm like, or to be fair, like I just looked this up Wikipedia. So what's stop him from going onto Wikipedia and being like, "Oh sure, yeah, there we go. Now I can throw that together in like 5 minutes."
You too can be a Tatsuki Fujimoto, Seamus.
Like, what does it all mean? What is Adam and Eve and little stuff? And it's like, I just thought that was interesting stuff. Sure, throw it on there.
It works. It works. Works real well.
I think he said the ending was him like, oh yeah, 2001 Space Odyssey, I think was what he was referencing. Like, kind of taking the idea from.
It is a white space at the end, even though they're supposed to be in like outer space. And in the previous parts, it's like, black. It's the vacuum, it's outer space. But that final chapter, like the background and everything is white. So Dar, is there any other parts of these two volumes that we missed talking about that you want to kind of mention? I guess I'll also throw that to you, Seamus. I'm trying to think of other things.
I wrote down this face, this humanity question mark, and I'm like, what the fuck did I mean by that?
Wait, what did you write down?
BIT face, comma, BIT humanity question mark.
It
Oh, the
phased
bit
me.
of his face is like, oh, now I know what I meant by that. Like,
Okay.
you know, I don't know if we talked about this the last time, but like, you know, when he has like the kind of fire punch look of him, where he says he's not like, I'm not Agni or I'm fire punch.
Yeah.
It's like his entire face is like in flames because he's like no humanity left. I think that's what I meant by that.
Yeah. That totally makes sense because when he's still, when his face is slightly burning, like at the beginning of the series, he's still more or less, a person on revenge. But the parts of the story where he's completely on fire, like when he was supposed to go save that twin girl from like the soldiers. He burns his entire face turns on fire, and then it just cuts to black. And when he comes back and his face finally, the fire recedes, he has killed everybody, including the twin he was meant to save. Or when he approaches Sun at the end of the story to fight, like his entire face is on fire. He's no humanity left. That totally works. Totally agree.
Oh, and I did like the bit where they reveal this, like, oh yeah, people back when everyone regenerated came up with a way to just everyone to kill themselves if they wanted to. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. At some point, you'll be like, oh, Jesus, I've been alive too long. Let's just get rid of this.
The pill that he gets
Yes.
at the end. Yeah. So he never used it.
No.
He never used that pill. He chose to live out being alive. Like, you don't see it, right? It's just a perspective of Judah up in the tree for millennia and millennia. How come he doesn't make the choice, Star Fox? Who can say?
I mean, same reason why.
Judah kept going.
Yeah, Judah kept going up there. Just some random bit of instinctual programming that seemingly fulfilled once they meet each other.
Makes sense.
I don't know. I think because when you get to the end, there is no one else beyond the two of them. So there was like no one else to basically like everyone to fuck with them. I don't know. There's that whole bit where like he's that flashback talking to the priest about like, oh, they call me Fireward, now I'm Magni, and it's like, what's the priest say something along the lines of like, who you are is like dependent on like how others see you. Whereas like kind of by the time it's just the two of them on their own for Millennium, they're like, I don't know, like whatever idea they have of themselves is only formed like by themselves, and whatever kind of vestiges. Maybe where the distinction of it is more like they never totally seem to forget everything about their past lives. They got this like I think it came up before with Luna and Judah and Agni of like this sense of wait, there was like more like I was something else before, or like there's like something I'm not remembering.
Yeah, like with Judah at the end there, always getting flashes of Agni. Like at first, it's the person and she just doesn't remember the name. But a millennia later, it's only like kind of like an outline. Or I guess Agni too, and when his student gives him that the Togata's camera, and they finally use the movie theater they built, so he can watch like his past self, the man on fire. Oh, now that we're at the end of the series, last episode when Togata saves Agni, burns to death, and decides Agni needs to live, I'm gonna tell him, my final words will be live. Togata decided that Agni needed to live. They don't say why. Why do we now think that was the reason? Was there no reason? Was just Tatsuki Fujimoto throwing in something there to be kind of mysterious? Is there a motivating factor for Toga to keep Agni going after he killed Doma and killed all the people there?
I don't know. Is there like motivating factor beyond just like not wanting him to like kill himself and like trying to figure out, okay, what the fuck can I say to this guy that like he won't kill himself? And like she already knows like from what he's told her, like that's her work before.
Yeah. Sorry, just with the pronouns of Togata.
Oh, yes, you're right. Yeah. Also the Tom Cruise bit. I thought we'd missed that earlier.
I like that Tom Cruise bit. I like how Togata comes back for a flashback talking about Tom Cruise. It's very Tatsuki Fujimoto.
He's like part of a weird cult. Force other people into it.
Yep.
See, Tatsuki Fujimoto thinks Sun is cool.
But only when Sun is doing cool stuff, though.
Yes.
Not inherently cool. It's just like, oh, if they could watch Sun be Ethan Hawke or whatever his character's name is in Mission Impossible, then Sun would be cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else to mention from these last two volumes, but I feel like we hit most of it. Oh, it was a nice brutal scene. This is when Agni has become Fire Punch again and is decimating soldiers in the forest. After he kills almost all of them, there's one surviving, and the soldier's begging Agni, please, Lord Agni, I have a family back. Please don't kill them, Agni just calmly walks up and lights him on fire and says, I'm not Agni. I like that scene a lot.
That's something where the other soldier just like puts a gun to his head and is like, see you at hell, and that's it.
Yep. The one who shoots himself.
Yes.
Yep. Also very good. Yeah, Dar, unless you have anything else to say about these two volumes.
No, I think Fire Punch stands out as a pretty strong debut. And it feels very complete. Yeah, I actually I might go onto my list of recommendations for like a short series with various caveats. But not dealing with like the quality of the story and more just like the content. So the story may be a little bit like EBGB for some people.
All right, yeah. Now it is time to talk about the series as a whole. But Darfox, as we do this, talking about Fire Punch as a whole, let's also compare it to one of your favorite manga, Chainsaw Man. What are you thinking in a comparison from Fire Punch to Chainsaw Man?
That's a good question. I feel like Chainsaw Man is a little bit more reserved, whereas Fire Punch, I think Tatsuki Fujimoto just taking wilder swings and being, in some ways, he's being more honest about some things, but also just like a little like boorish. Like it's just like just less of a delicate hand in that. Whereas Chainsaw Man, even though it's a little bit more commercial, and a little more pop, it feels like Tatsuki Fujimoto being more careful with the characters and with setting up things than it is with this. I don't know if that's just him working with the editor and figuring out like how they want to like work the story in the long term, or if that's just how he wants to handle it. But Chainsaw Man, I mean, it makes sense why Chainsaw Man has blown up over time, because like you get the kind of creative energy that this has and kind of some of like some of the big ideas, And you just you sand off the edges a little bit and make it a little bit easier, and then a lot more people will read it. Because it's not like Fire Punch is unknown. People know about Fire Punch. It's been around, but I still feel like a lot of people haven't read it. Like I hadn't read it until we did it for the podcast.
Right.
I think one big difference is like fundamentally like the setting. It's like Fire Punch is like, this fucked world of it's all cold, there's fuck all people around. People are just like, there's no niceties really left on a societal level. Or at least with Chainsaw Man, it's like the 90s in Japan, and HIV doesn't exist, and the Nazis don't exist. Yeah, I think that makes it like very different in terms of like it's not like everything is just like, I don't know, you're like 3 steps away from everything just being gone or like everyone dying all of a sudden.
Yeah, Chainsaw Man tries to deal with more kind of issues we might have our own selves with, about like loneliness and kind of like the idea of being exploited in the job and stuff like that. And Fire Punch just deals with stuff that's way more. I mean, it's stuff that still happens in the world, but it's just way more harsh and not relatable. Like starving and constant fear of being like assaulted and sieged and killed, and worse.
Do you know what I think of, guys? I kind of also think of more like a meta perspective on looking at Chainsaw Man compared to Fire Punch. It's because Tatsuki Fujimoto doing Fire Punch, it was serialized in Shonen Jump Plus. Online, he got to get away with a lot more fucked up concepts that would not fly in like the mainstream magazine of Weekly Shonen Jump. And I always look at Chainsaw Man as kind of a deconstruction of this shonen battle manga. Dara, you and I have talked about this a lot, how Denji represents it's kind of poking fun at the simpleton character that you get from like Luffy from One Piece or whatever.
Goku.
Yeah.
Strong at fighting.
Stupid.
Nothing. Not really good at anything else but fighting.
Yeah. And how they would totally be exploited in the real world, which is what happens to Denji. And it's interesting how, Fire Punch is Tatsuki Fujimoto doing all these big swings, like you said, Dark Fox. He was probably like way more limited in what he could try and do in Weekly Shonen Jump. I mean, he definitely fucking pushes that shit. He pushes it. But it takes him a while to get going as well, right? When he was doing Chainsaw Man, it takes a while for that story to really hit its stride, and people were like, "Oh shit, this is some good manga." With maybe volume 4 or 5 of Chainsaw Man, we always say. I also think of a parallel to the manga artist Yuji Kaku. Darfox, he's the guy who did Jigokuraku, Hell's Paradise.
Okay.
Jigokuraku, Hell's Paradise ran in Shonen Jump Plus. It's also very successful manga. Hella gory. Would not fly in mainstream magazine, right? The anime that just came out was very well received. People like it. People like that series. Yuji Kaku also went on to do a manga in Weekly Shonen Jump, but it didn't work. Remember Ayashimon? Yeah. About the boy who was like, he was really strong, and then like he was involved in underworld thugs that were actually Japanese yokai in disguise or whatever. It still has one of my favorite first chapters, Ayashimon, where he beats the bad guy, the main character. He's like, I learned this super move, and he does a Kamehameha, but it's just a fucking punch. And on that panel, it says, not a Kamehameha.
Yeah.
I love that joke. I really wish Aishimon succeeded, but it didn't. It did not find the stride and success like Chainsaw Man did. And I don't know if that's just because, like, at the time when Aishimon was coming out, it didn't have a chance to, kind of build up and breathe like Chainsaw Man did. Or if it's just, like, a difference in like success between Yuji Kaku and Tatsuki Fujimoto. I can't really say for that, but I thought of a parallel, because I knew we were going to talk about Chainsaw Man versus Fire Punch. It made me think of Jikokudaku versus Aishimon as well.
I think there are a couple things why Aishimon didn't take off compared to Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man had a very simple WTF factor, which was the Chainsaw Man. It was very easy to explain.
Yeah,
it was very easy
the
to
main
say,
character in Aishimon was kind of weak. He was
yeah, it was very easy. It was very easy to say. This is a manga about a guy with a chainsaw hands and a chainsaw face. People are like, "LOL." People make manga about everything nowadays, I guess. And then you might keep talking about it and say, "Actually, it's kind of interesting." Like, there's this Makima character, and you can't tell if she's a good guy or a bad guy because she's taking care of the main character, but she's clearly kind of nefarious.
Yeah, and exploiting him. Yeah.
So like it had that in with the WTF factor. And I think Chainsaw Man is successful, but before it was successful, it was a manga darling, meaning people on Twitter talked about it, and people who sniff their own farts like us, we talked about it. And like, well, actually, I want to include ourselves into this, but like, if you go into like manga Twitter and like Instagram and see like manga content, a big part of what traffic's on there, what get clicks is kind of like WTF content. It's like, oh, this is really funny, or this is weird, or like, no way they went there with this.
And it's almost shiroi. It's interesting.
I think Chainsaw Man really check that box amongst that group, right? And it allowed it to kind of travel, right? It allowed it for its roots to grow, and eventually, it became a hit.
Yeah.
What's the name of the other manga?
There's Jigokudaku and Aishimon.
Aishimon, yeah. Aishimon. It had way less of the. I mean, like, there were WTF moments in it where, like you talked about the Kamehameha moment, and stuff like that. But like, it was just way harder to pin down. The concept wasn't as strong as Chainsaw Man, where it was like the Yakuza are also devils, sort of.
Monsters, demons, yeah, yokai.
Yeah, like, it was just harder to describe and pitch. So it's just like, I hate to say that, like, it's just really was worse, but yeah, it was kind of just like a worse debut. And Hell's Paradise, I think it's Hell's Paradise is like the opposite of Chainsaw Man, in the sense that, like, it's a pretty simple concept, in that, like, they're like ninja warriors and they're on a quest, right? And if you give it a shot, you see the really good quality of storytelling and art. And
you say that first chapter of Jikokudaku is a masterclass or masterpiece. First chapter.
Yeah, but like, if you're pitching it to somebody, you can't really describe the masterpiece nature of it. You have to kind of describe the story a little bit. And it's kind of the opposite, in the sense that, like, since it's such a simple setup, people can kind of get into it, and give it a shot, and it turned out to be really, really good. And that's kind of how I feel about it. It's almost like a trifecta of like different kind of audience appeal, whereas on one end it's Chainsaw Man, it's like the big WTF, and then people get into it because of that, and they find a good story and or other stuff to like about it, the art, set pieces, and it's really interesting. And then on the other side, you have Hell's Paradise, which is it sounds kind of basic and straightforward, but it's really, really good. And the art's really, really good, and like, it's just told very, very well. Like I said, like you just said, that first chapter really blew me away when I first wrote it. Or when I first wrote it, I wrote.
Dark Horse writing. Yeah. Hell's Paradise, Jikokudaku.
And in the middle, unfortunately, the other one stuck in the middle. It's just kind of like, it's not like the most basic concept ever. There's some originality to it, but like, it takes a minute to explain, and it doesn't seem that original, and it's just kind of there. You know?
All right, so based on the scale, you got Jigodoku on one side. On the other side, you got Chainsaw Man. In the middle, you have Aishimon. Where's Fire Punch?
Okay, so you know where Chainsaw Man is?
Yeah.
If you break the scale and keep going for like a mile to the right, there's Fire Punch. it is the most WTF. Like, so like the issue with Fire Punch is that with if we're gonna keep following this whole thing that I just invented off the top of my head,
I think it's good though. Keep going.
So like, Chainsaw Man had a WTF factor where you say this guy has hands and face of chainsaws. You're like, what? That's stupid. What the fuck? What are they gonna make manga next? A Toilet Man? Let me let me check out this Chainsaw Man shit. Oh, this kind of pops. You go all the way to that WTF scale is Fire Punch, and it becomes maybe a little bit off-putting because you go, oh, it's about like this kid who has Wolverine style healing factor. He heals instantly, so he was feeding his limbs to his like town folk. So it's about cannibalism in the beginning. Also, he has a sister that he wanted to fuck. So just two taboo things. Also, he eventually gets set on fire. So imagine if Wolverine got set on fire, and because of his healing factor, the fire never got turned off. So he's literally on fire all the time. If he punches you, you get set on fire too. So it's this really miserable story about this person suffering for all eternity because they're set aflame and they can't turn off the flames. And that has like way more like with WTF factor built upon to the point where it becomes daunting and it becomes like, whoa, they want to get into this thing that's like, opens up with like incest and cannibalism and all this stuff. And now that we read all of Chainsaw Man, sorry, not all Chainsaw Man, all of Fire Punch, the cannibalism is a relatively small part of it. Like it's a big part of like the character's origin story. The incest is a bigger part of it, but at the same time, it's more like endemic to like the main character's like ignorance. Ignorance and just lack of education, lack of upbringing, and like it's more indicative of the characters like just I said this before last episode, but I forgot how I put it. How he lies to himself, like he wants something, and to justify it to himself, he lies to himself, and it's kind of like the lack of inhibitions that this character has. And other stuff is already like way more like heady and harder to pin down than like Chainsaw Man. So like Fire Punch is on this other scale of just like, again, really wild storytelling it has like really strong, in my opinion, like thematic underpinnings and really great set pieces for the art and the characters. But it's also like, I didn't even get to Togata. Like Togata's a big part of when you first start reading Fire Punch, and like try to explain that WTF factor of like, oh, there's this character that has seen all the movies we've seen. But there's the post-apocalypse, but they had all access to all these movies, and they saw Back to the Future and Star Wars, and they're referencing all these movies while stuff is happening in the story, and they're like, "What? That sounds weird." Like, like I guess Fire Punch has too much WTF.
All right, Dart. Thank you for presenting your like
following that squirrel in my head to the whole. Yeah.
No, but I think that's really good. This is really good, Dar.
Well, I think this is like something I heard a description of American, like I think I don't know about Spider-Man or something years ago. Like people want stuff that's like 90% the same and 10% different, like 80% the same and 20% different. And like
that's a very good way to kind of
keep going.
Basically, Chainsaw Man is like it's too far. It's like Dar was on about like the scale. It's like. It's like, I don't know, 40% difference. Or it's like beyond that tipping point, whatever, I don't know, like 80, 20, whatever the number is. There's like a certain point where it's like, it's too unfamiliar. You're like, oh wait, now this is like work for me to understand this. As opposed to like, I can just be like, oh yeah, that's funny, haha, move on with my life. Like, okay. Oh no, actually, the attention.
Seamus, you said Chainsaw Man, but I assume you're talking about Fire Punch.
Sorry, I mean, Fire Punch is like,
okay.
That's where I think with Chainsaw Man is more same in that it's more like the type of stuff that people who read a shonen manga would read.
Yes. And see, I want to bring this up because we did our Chainsaw Man retrospective last year, and I wasn't on that first episode, neither was Morgana. It was Seamus, Darfox, and I think you had Dawn?
Dawn.
Yeah, from the Anime Nostalgia podcast. And Seamus, like, I remember listening to the episode, and your first comment was like, possible sophomore slump for this? Because you had read Fire Punch right before that, and
I might have been trolling a bit.
yeah, you were trolling a little, but like I totally saw where you're coming from, right? He started with this way extreme what the fuck Fire Punch, and then if you compare that to Chainsaw Man, it is watered down because, you know, it needs to be in Weekly Shonen Jump. It needs to be more for the masses. So
a lot of the settings and trappings and I guess tropes, to use that word, that gets overused a lot. A lot of those tropes are familiar. It's like it's a familiar setting. It's just whatever's being played out on that stage. It's more interesting and more creative and a little bit, I guess you could say a little more dangerous, than the typical shonen thing. But at first, it's still taking place on that same stage. Yeah. So like, yeah, Chainsaw Man would qualify as that 10%, 15%, like different, whereas Fire Punch is like freaking 80% different. And the other 20% is very ironic and metatextual, with Togata referencing like movies and like protagonists in films.
Yeah. I would say though, with Chainsaw Man, as the series kept going, it started to push that what the fuck nature more and more. You know, Tatsuki Fujimoto's kind of playing with that, seeing what he can get away with. Kind of to the point where he was eventually kicked off of like Weekly Shonen Jump.
Was that ever actually like said as to why the switch happened? Like, did it was this explicitly okay? This is getting a bit too violent for this.
I don't think it's said, but we can make a very educated guess that it's partly because he was pushing the boundaries, and that probably made the editors more nervous at Weekly Shonen Jump. Also, he was having a harder time with that Weekly Shonen Jump weekly schedule. I mean, all manga artists under that magazine have this fucking problem with, doing all that work in that limited amount of like crunch time. We saw like Darfox, remember Ruri Dragon? That series no longer exists basically because 6 chapters in, the manga artist just fucking broke down and couldn't handle the schedule. So
yeah, they said this is not going to be a thing for me.
Yeah,
I think I just saw a post saying that like it's been 1 year since it went on hiatus.
Yeah.
So like it's been a while. It might not ever return at this point.
Mm-hmm, yeah. So I think it's a combination of the schedule is too hard for Tatsuki Fujimoto to be satisfied with what he was like outputting. Manga artists have some pride about like what they want to put out, and if it's not great, people are gonna comment, and obviously they're gonna know, right? I think most artists know what they put out. If they're like, I'm satisfied with this, yes or no, or like at least it reaches that point of satisfaction where I'm not ashamed or whatever to put out that work. And moving off of Weekly Shonen Jump back to Shonen Jump Plus is probably a factor of both those things. He can get away with more stuff on the online Shonen Jump Plus, and also he can have a better schedule where he can take more time to draw what he wants. I don't know if you agree with that, Dar, based on what you've seen of Chainsaw Man since it moved back.
Yeah, like is Weekly Shonen Plus, he's not doing that weekly then? Is it like every 2 weeks, or what's his schedule?
It's kind of up in the air. Sometimes it's weekly, sometimes he takes a week or two off.
Yeah, he takes like 2 or 3 weeks off, and then he has like a 3-week run where like weekly you get a chapter.
To be honest, there are certain series in Weekly Shonen Jump right now that are on that schedule because like the manga artists are just breaking down My Hero Academia, Black Clover. They're both basically, even though they're in Weekly Shonen Jump, they're basically like almost every other week at this point.
Yeah,
because like it's been so bad. Even like One Piece, Eiichiro Oda, they give him like a week off every month, I think, at least.
Yeah, that's less to protect the quality of the book and more to protect the manga, I feel like.
Yeah.
killing themselves. But yeah, like we talked a lot about Yuki Tabata. I think that's the name of the Black Clover
Yep.
manga. They definitely need it because various chapters you see them struggling and releasing chapters that are just sketches and
Yeah, uncompleted.
various states of complete. Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, I totally agree with your assessment because like not that we know what was the editor for Chainsaw Man? Lin Shuhei, is that his name?
I don't know if it's true. Hold on. I follow him on Twitter.
Yeah, he was a big part of Million Tag, so that's the only reason why I know part of his name.
I'll look this up. You keep talking.
Yeah, like not that we know exactly how they are, but just seeing a little bit of how they were on that Million Tag show, like I can see them. You know, they have a relationship with the mangaka, and they let the mangaka get away with some things, um, like killing off, most of the cast a couple times during Chainsaw Man. Like, you sure you want to do this? This seems kind of reckless in a storytelling perspective. You just kill off all these characters you've been setting up. Yeah, fucking kill them off. Like, okay, kill them off, and then like also with the cannibalism stuff that happens at the very end of Chainsaw Man, it's like, are you sure you want to do this? This is a weird note to end the series on. It's like, yeah, but it's kind of like it kind of had to do it because this or that. It's a relationship, right? So I can see like that relationship like having enough compromises so that they got to the point where they're like, okay, like I can't, you can't keep pushing past me with all this stuff. Like something has to break. And I think
Okay, the editor is Shihei Lin.
okay,
So
so
you're right about Lin. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, like I can see like the the manga plus thing being like
It's
just
a win-win for both.
a good compromise. Yeah.
Okay, Dar. Since we're kind of like wrapping up on our Fire Punch discussion, and we have him compared to Chainsaw Man now. Having read Fire Punch now, do you think Fire Punch is a stronger product, or like how do you like look at them in comparison?
No. I would depending on the crowd. I'd recommend Fire Punch over Chainsaw Man. If I was speaking to someone like Seamus, you know, who really doesn't like shonen action stuff, I might recommend Fire Punch before I recommend Chainsaw Man. It might be like a gateway to Chainsaw Man, which it sort of was. It kind of wasn't because you're already going to read Chainsaw Man, for the podcast. Um, but like I think Chainsaw Man is such an easier sell. Um, and overall, I think Chainsaw Man I think is a better story. Overall, um, it has more time to grow its ideas and its themes, whereas I think it has a bigger scope. Whereas Fire Punch is kind of, even though the story spans literally like millennia, Fire Punch it's kind of insular and almost circular with its character and them going through various stages of like grief, suffering, and then like violence, and then like some sort of like false redemption, and then back to violence. It kind of hangs around all these same ideas for the whole length of the book. It does it pretty well, but like it's like a smaller scoped story, and I think Chainsaw Man does a good job of iterating on his ideas and themes a little more over the course of its longer story. I mean, it's still going, so
Right, it's still ongoing. So maybe not a fair comparison either. Let's turn that back on Seamus. Seamus, rereading Fire Punch again, having read so much more Chainsaw Man, how do you compare the two?
I think, like they're saying, I think it's very hard to do a comparison in the sense of like this is such a like focused like thing where it's like we're not fucking around here. Like we're going in. She's going to get better. She's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. And then you're like, oh Jesus, man, you should just be dead. And he's like, all right, no, he is.
All right, but for you personally, Seamus.
Well, for me personally, like I'm rereading this. Like I think rereading this, I felt like the kind of stuff at the start with some of the like the cannibalism and the bestiality was a bit like him being like almost like nearly like Ed Lordy in a way where it's like this is more like shock value than I feel it's like contributing to like the overall story. But the whole like revenge and just violence and just the situation just getting just there's no better in this. Like I don't know. I think that for me, like that still is like just so well done. Particularly with like some of the, like rereading some of the stuff towards the end that I kind of like forgotten that happened.
Right, nice.
Like I would still prefer. I don't know. See, it's hard to judge. You can't really judge against Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man's still going. Like so, it's hard. You know, here I kind of know the whole thing. Like I never read it. Chainsaw Man, it's like still ongoing. But like, I don't know. I don't think Chainsaw Man like goes as like hard as this the way it does. And like that like single mindedness, like just like we're not. There's no like hope here. There's no redemption here really. Like we're just going to watch someone like just engage in like destruction of themselves and everyone around them, and that's how it's going to go. Like those stories in general, I just really like, where it's just like someone just like blowing it all up over and over again.
That is Fire Punch. Yeah, I think overall I agree with Dar. I think I like Chainsaw Man more. It's definitely made me laugh so much, which is like always enjoyable. But rereading Fire Punch for this retrospective, I was kind of surprised about how good this depressing, fucked up story is. That was the surprise for me for this retrospective. I was like, this is I remember all the big moments, right? Like the Togata on the train and like some of those the fun parts, or like the melancholic ending at the very end. But just in general, I was like, this is impressive. Especially for his Tatsuki Fujimoto's debut work, this is a very impressive series. That's what I take away from our Fire Punch retrospective. Dar, do you have a favorite moment in Fire Punch? Maybe to end on.
Judah / Luna trying out the clothes on, and he thinks so cute, so cute.
You did pop for that last episode. You did mention it a lot.
It's just like that whole sequence of him, like the fake laughing and the goofy look on his face as he's doing horrible things. It's just like it's really good.
Nice. I think personally, I would pick the Togata fight scene on the train. Like all of it, like including like from the moment Togata shows up, and they're filming everything, saying like, "Yeah, rape that girl," before killing the one regenerator, and then the next one shows up and they get pissed. And they're like, "What? You're the same! Cut!" And then it's just like you turn the page and it cuts to the end of the battle where Togata has won. That's so good, still so good in this series of this manga Fire Punch. If you look at any part of Fire Punch, I would recommend like at least read that scene. That's very good. Seamus, you got a favorite part of Fire Punch?
I'm just trying to think. Maybe a bit of recency bias here, but the whole bit like when Doma's granddaughter like makes him Fire Punch again, he's like this look on his face of like, yeah, back to this. It's like the most like, oh. It's like he's going to go out and get revenge and try and save Judah, but like there's really no. He's not like this. This isn't going in well. Like there's no like joy to be found here. It's just like murder, and that'll be it.
And he knows that. He
Exactly.
knows he's making a really bad, fucked up choice, but he's still going to choose to do it.
And then the bit where your man shoots himself in the head and says, "See you in hell."
Also a great part. All right, we sure talked a lot about Fire Punch, and I think this is the end. Darfox, Seamus, thank you for joining me for this Fire Punch retrospective. I had a lovely time talking about Fire Punch, talking about Tatsuki Fujimoto in general. It's almost a shame Morgana missed out on this. I feel like she would have a lot of things to say about Fire Punch. Perhaps in the future we'll do a retrospective redux on Fire Punch. Get Morgana's take. What do you think, Dar?
Yeah, probably a long time from now.
Yeah, give it a while to simmer. But yeah, let's go ahead and end the podcast now. But the good news, Tatsuki Fujimoto continues next week when we read the chapters for Volume 15 of Chainsaw Man. That will be chapters 123 to 133. So even though Volume 15 isn't officially out yet in English, you can read those chapters on the Shonen Jump app. We'll also be reading Deluxe Edition 3 of Yokohama Kaidashi Kiko and Die Dark Volume 5 for next week. Stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed Manga Machinations, make sure to subscribe to us, review us, rate us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever else you can find us. I would love to see more reviews. We haven't had a review in a while, so please do that for us. Or you can support us by buying us coffee. Head over to ko-fi.com/mangamac. And you can buy us a coffee to help support us so we can buy our manga for this podcast. Or other things in general. I think we're still on the Darfox Still Too Handsome campaign for raising more money for that. Make sure you check out our website, mangamachinations.com. Our Tumblr is mangamachinations.tumblr.com. Our Twitter account is at MangaMacPodcast. That's Manga MAC Podcast. Our Blue Sky is at MangaMacPodcast.
BSKY.
Yeah. We also have an Instagram, which is at MangaMacPodcast as well. Same with we have a Threads. It's also at Manga Podcast. Come join us on our Discord server. Join us to play Mahjong on Mondays. Come talk to us. Manga Machination, discord.me/mangamac. I was going to say you can follow, you can send us emails, mangamachinations@gmail.com. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/mangamactv. It's where we're doing our live recordings. The archive of that recording can be found there, so you can watch the recording process and see Darfox's nice face as well. Make sure to check that out. We want more subscribers on our YouTube, please. And you can follow my personal Twitter at DocZoo, follow Darfox at Darfox8, and follow Seamus at Seamus2389. Seamus is spelled without an H. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to us this week. Bye-bye.